Hello, hello, guys. This is Emmanuel. How are you guys doing today? We got Joshua in the house. How's it going,
What up?
Joshua?
Doing great, doing great. I'm so glad to be here. So thank you guys so much for staying tuned and tuning in. I always love coming down to my home studio and teach you some useful stuff for you guys when visible, of course. And actually, well, I've been looking forward to these all day and so glad to be here, Emmanuel.
Thank you for joining me today. Actually, we have a very marvelous topic today. The topic is schools and English courses will never teach you this vocabulary. And what do you think I came up with that title, Joshua? I want to hear your opinion. Why do you think I came out with that title?
Well, I'm flabbergasted at this moment, actually. Totally gobsmacked, bro.
You're got
Sure,
smacked.
yeah, totally, bro. Because, well, probably it's because you have recently uploading a lot of good content. You have a performing these private classes, and one of the current questions out of these classes are that how come um they were not able to properly, learn the vocabulary they need in order to get a call center job. That's a recurring question out of these classes. Why, Joshua? What am I doing wrong, Emmanuel? What am I doing wrong? How come I'm not able to understand native speakers, but I am able to understand my teacher, my classmates. I actually paid 3 courses in a row, 3 advanced courses in a row. How come? Well, probably that's the reason why you came up with this whole idea, bro.
You nailed it, bro. And I always like to sound sarcastic on purpose, and I always say the following. Guys, you could be A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, or even Z900 if you want to call it like that. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. You could be Z9000. I don't care about that. I don't care if you're C1 or C2. I don't care about your diploma certificates. I don't care if you took a course in Harvard. I don't care if you spend um, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in a course. What I really care is if you're able to speak fluently. Like, for example, the other day we invited Hezekiah from Indiana. He's a native English speaker. And some of our students totally got smacked. They got overwhelmed, flabbergasted. And guys, maybe you're wondering, but why? Because I think my English is good enough and I'm able to communicate. Well, but let's see and let's carefully review what are those things in which you can communicate effectively. Can you communicate effectively in every single context? Are you able to talk about medicine, cars, mechanics, politics, soccer? Are you able to communicate effectively in those contexts I just mentioned, or you just can communicate talking about your family? I have a dog. I have two brothers. Is that all the communication that you are referring to? No, guys. We gotta be serious. I know that this topic is a bit uncomfortable for some people, and some people just decome out of this life. They are going to skedaddle. But I don't want to scare you guys away.
Mhm.
I'm actually telling you guys the truth because I've noticed that as a teacher, some students say, "No, but I can speak English and my English is really good." All right, so let's talk about Mm, I don't know. Let's talk about the universe. Let's have a conversation about the universe. Can you elaborate a viewpoint about the universe, about the planets, about the aliens? But let's talk for an hour about that topic, not just for 2 minutes. Let's talk for about an hour about our ancestors. Let's have a nice conversation about the Second World War. Let's have a conversation
E-
about something that
Emmanuel,
happened 200 years ago.
Emmanuel, sorry to butt in, bro, but this comment is very interesting from
All right.
Soy
Let
Prio,
me
Soy Pry.
let me project it, Joshua.
Yeah, remember yesterday, eh, guys, we were performing this call center training, and one of these things that we mentioned during this session was, okay, this is one of the most important things in a call center. It called active listening. So we told our students, okay, you guys are telling us if we can share certain idioms, phrases, phrasal verbs, slangs during our interactions. But let me tell you what, we actually have been giving you a lot of vocabulary, but you have not been able to pay close attention to details. Actually, we use a lot of useful phrases. In fact, in our opening, when Emmanuel was saying skedaddle, I, for instance, said gobsmacked, flabbergasted. Emmanuel also said spew out, stall out. We actually use a lot of phrasal verbs at the beginning of this video, and perhaps you didn't notice, guys. So this is what we call active listening. Of course, we're gonna share with you guys a lot of useful vocabulary, but you have to develop your listening skills, guys.
That's a good point. Actually, I like this comment. Maybe you can read it for me, Joshua.
Of course, English with Edison. Hey, Manuel and Joshua, I'm really psyched out of learning as much vocabulary as I can from you guys. Most of the time, you nailed it. Perfect.
That's
Sound
a
good, bro.
beautiful expression. I'm really psyched out of learning as much vocabulary as I can from you guys.
Hmm.
Well, English with Edison. Actually, I was checking out your channel, bro, the other day, and I noticed that you're an English teacher. Just keep it up. We're gonna support you. I actually subbed to your channel, bro. That's great. Keep it up.
Yeah.
But I know
Uh,
you're a faithful follower in here.
he has remained loyal to our
Yeah, he's
channel
so
from the very
loyal,
beginning.
and
Hmm.
you know that's why I've been checking out your channel because I know that you have been supporting us. So I want to do the same thing in return in order to support you back
This
because
cool,
you
cool.
deserve it. I know you've been
Yes, sir.
struggling, maybe for a long time to upload videos, but you're doing a great job. That's great. All right, so
Emma, before moving forward,
yeah,
allow me just a second in order to say hi to my good friend, personal friend, Yuri from Atando Los Cabos. He's a Cuban person, but he's living in the United States. So glad to be you here, bro. Thanks for
well,
tuning in, Yuri,
that's
Atando Los
that's
Cabos.
great. Hi,
Thank
thank you for joining. I'm happy to have you on board. Um, let me read this other comment before we move forward. Let me see. Just one second. Let me project it, guys. Shelly. Hello, guys. I'm really happy to be here. Good to see you again. Well, I'm happy to see you again too. I don't know if you joined us yesterday. Perhaps you did. But if you didn't, I'm happy that you were back here in the live chat. That means so much to us. Oh, this guy from Senegal. He's been supporting me all this week, Joshua, from Monday through Friday.
you.
Hey, Emmanuel and
Very
Joshua, how
supportive,
are
bro.
you doing? Hope you're doing great. Well, this guy is really loyal. Thank you, Abmado. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name because I don't know.
I like it. I like it,
Amado.
by the way.
Yeah, he's been learning a lot of vocabulary from our lives. Yes, Senegal. I already know your country because you told me about it back on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So thank you once again for the endless support. All right, Joshua. So let me try to share something that I got here
Hmm.
related to advanced vocabulary. So let me see if I can project it for you guys. So just one second, because there is. Uh-huh, let me see. There is a paragraph that I love to read, and then we can explain. Joshua, I don't know if you are able to read it.
Bro, no.
No,
No. Perhaps you can spot it in from your settings in order to maximize it because no, it's too small, bro.
too small.
Hmm.
All right, so let me see.
There is an option from your
Uh,
settings that you can
Let
actually
me
pin
check.
it. Hmm. Hmm.
Let me check.
You can highlight it.
Mm,
Before, okay, let me review some comments while doing that. Chelly Orellana, guys, could you give me some advices for improving my comprehension skills? Actually, that's an interesting question, Chelly. Well, as always say, we have to try to get surrounded by this language, and I recommend um listening to podcasts, for instance. That is something that I actually do. I don't like watching videos or movies or sitcoms. Why? And this is something that we proved yesterday during our call center lesson when we actually showed a real call. And I asked our students if they thought that it was similar to movies or sitcoms, and they found it quite different. Why? Because in real life, a real conversation is very difficult and different from what we actually see in movies and in sitcoms. Is quite different. So, a good habit, yeah, and listening to podcasts, try to find tutorials or debates in English regarding a specific topic that you like. For instance, if you like the Spider Verse, the MCU, things like that, well, you can try to find debates on that specific topic. And you're gonna find out, or you're gonna find a lot of vocabulary out of these videos. So that's something that you can actually do. Of course, watch our videos. Actually, we have a lot of videos and interacting with native speakers. And these streaming lines are good, but remember, guys, bear in mind that we have a lot of videos interacting with native speakers. If you haven't watched these videos, so I totally recommend you guys go into our channel and watch these videos because we actually have a lot of scenarios, right, Emmanuel? Lot
yeah,
of scenarios.
we have a lot of different scenarios that are gonna be useful if you want to
Mhm.
improve your listening skills as well as your speaking skills.
Exactly. And regarding any topic that you can imagine, we have covered it up already. So yeah, that's my recommendation. And of course, trying to pay a close attention to details, active listening.
All right, thank you for that, Joshua. So Soy Pri says, I want to enter your course. Soy Pri, if you want to join our course, I already posted a comment regarding our email address. So please send us an email address at hypronary@gmail.com and we'll be happy to send you all the information concerning the course. All right. So Joshua, I decided to do it differently. Actually, I projected the
Okay.
paragraph that I wanted to share since I was having some technical issues, but it's all right. It works anyway. So I'm gonna read it and then we are going to discuss it and break it down because today's live is gonna be about vocabulary that you never learn in schools or in English courses. All right, the paragraph says automatic vehicles use what's called a torque converter to manage transmission fluid and to keep your engine running while at a stop. If your torque converter fails, the engine can stall out. So Joshua, what do you think? Do you think we can learn this in school or in a normal course? Like, do teachers teach you these? What do you think? I want to hear your viewpoint regarding this paragraph and also the vocabulary. Take a look. We have to stall out. We have to keep your engine running at a stop, for example. What does that mean?
Well, actually, regarding your question, actually, no, we cannot find this vocabulary in a common training or course or whatever. And actually, this vocabulary is pretty useful. Actually, let me start with the last phrasal verb, stall out. For
All right.
instance, if I say, Emmanuel, you know what? My girlfriend is coming, bro, and I don't have like anything prepared for her. Perhaps you can install me sometime. Well, okay, the verb stall, okay, of course he is here is stall out, but the verb stop is uh to prevent something from happening, or in this case is to gain time,
Mhm.
to look for time in order to carry out a specific task.
To make some time for her or for something to happen.
Exactly.
Mhm. All right, but
Now,
what is the meaning of stalling out in this context? The engine can stall out.
exactly. In this case is stop. When you see that your car is doing this
Mhm.
and it eventually stops. So in this case the engine can stop eventually. That's basically the verb stall out here, means
Mhm.
to stop.
All right, and what about the other one? To keep your engine running. What does that
Mhm.
mean?
Of course, that you're gonna have the main device that is actually making the car running on
Mhm.
this piece of machine that is in the front of the car. The engine running means that you're gonna have your car still working. It's
Still
not bugged
working.
down. It's still working.
Yes. And what about at a stop? To be at a stop. Like, for example, if I say I was driving past the repair shop and I noticed that there were many cars at a stop. What is the meaning of that?
It's like saying that they were parked in a specific
Mhm.
spot. They were located in a specific spot because of something, due to something. There was, if you say, well, there was this horde of truck drivers at a stop, so you can actually
Mhm.
imagine or picture that there are a lot of people in a stop,
So
located in a specific spot. Mhm.
thank you. Actually, this guy Bosnia says you're talking. Say you're Egyptian. No, we're not Egyptian. We are located in Costa Rica in Central America. We are from the American continent. We have never been to Egypt, just in case you were wondering. Chili says, thank you so much for your recommendations, guys. I will take it into account to improve my comprehension skills. Then Pod Bob says, hi guys, I see you always and forever I can. You both speak with advanced English vocabulary, but also very funny. Emmanuel is very elegant speaking English, and Joshua is like listening to Will Smith. Well, that's funny, right?
Yeah, actually funny.
Well,
Actually, now that Podbop has brought this topic into the table, it would be advisable, Emmanuel, if we mention it. For instance, yesterday there was this person saying that I was speaking weird, and I totally received the feedback because I have an open minded, and of course, I'm always gonna receive feedback. And I totally understand that probably my accent is not as good as Emmanuel's accent. I totally respect that. But guys, in life we have to be humble enough in order to accept our weaknesses. And what I'm telling you this, well, guys, because let's suppose for a moment that I am your customer. I'm calling you to your company, and it happens that I'm your customer. So you're gonna tell me that my accent is weird and you cannot understand me. No, of course not. You cannot say that to your customers. And guys, bear in mind that even though, regardless of your company or regardless of your job, because you can be working in a call center or in an important company, but you actually have to interact with people from the United States, but perhaps they were not born in the United States, meaning that they are not native speakers. I mean, I receive a lot of calls every single day from people who are living in the United States, but they are from India or from Egypt or from Nigeria, from Cameroon. They are from Netherlands. They are from Germany. They are from China, from Japan. And guys, you cannot say something like, "No, it's because I cannot understand. Their accent is pretty difficult, is weird." No, guys, we have to stop blaming other people, because how can you explain that Emmanuel, I, and a lot of people out there who are currently working in call centers or these big companies, we don't actually have this issue? I mean, I receive calls, the person on the other line is able to understand me perfectly. We actually have a beautiful conversation, fluent conversation. This person is not, we're not, hampering our communication due to things like, wow, what is this guy saying here? I don't know, his accent is very weird, he's using vocabulary that I don't know. No, we don't actually have this issue, guys, and the other person doesn't have this issue. Why? Because we have a proper command of the language. Joshua, but okay, but if you have a proper command of the language, so that's the reason why you don't have these issues. Well, guys, this is why you actually have to practice and develop. Because if you say no, I cannot understand this person because he's from Japan. Well, it's not his problem. It's your problem because you have not developed your listening skills, guys. Perhaps Emmanuel can give us some feedback regarding this as well.
No, actually, I have the same opinion. Um, Once you gain experience, once you're working in a call center, you get used to different accents, and that's not a problem. For example, today I got a call from somebody living in the Bahamas. And actually, I gotta admit, even though I have a lot of experience, I gotta admit that that person really had a very strange accent. I even had a hard time comprehending him at first because he was trying to explain something to me. Well, let me clarify. It was a technical call. Honestly, what he was saying was really technical. He was using some advanced vocabulary. And guys, if you don't know that vocabulary, if you're not familiar with those words, terms, and technical expressions, you could be confused because it's totally impossible. Number one, a very unusual accent and unknown vocabulary. Let me tell you that chances are that you won't understand that call. But that's an exception, an isolated case. Other than that, you get to a point where you are able to interact with any single person, regardless of their country, regardless of their accent, and regardless of their backgrounds, because you are um, so used to talking to many different people. Let me read this comment by Diana Guillen. She says, I'm in awe of your English competence. I wish to be articulate as you. I'm bound one day. Well, Diana, maybe it's because you're not confident enough. Perhaps you already have the vocabulary, you already have the skills, but you got to work on building up your confidence. Like, for example, at this moment, Joshua and I are talking. We are bringing up to the table many different topics, and we could spend, I don't know, a whole day here talking about many things. But why are we able to do that? Because we have a lot of confidence. We can talk about many things. Of course, we have a lot of vocabulary. I mean, Joshua and I have a very broad repertoire. Together, we make up a whole encyclopedia. He calls me the encyclopedia because he says that I have a lot of vocabulary, which I don't think that's the case, but maybe that's true. Sometimes I don't like to admit that I am an encyclopedia. But anyway, Diana, once again, maybe you gotta work on being confident. That's something you need to do. Try to talk to other people. Try to think about different topics. The
Emmanuel,
reason why, yeah,
correct me if I am wrong, but Diana is our student, right? In the second course, or not?
if I'm not mistaken, she's our student. Diana, maybe if we are wrong, please correct us. But if I'm not mistaken,
I-
yes, you're
If
part
if
of our
that's
team.
if that's the case, Diana, you have a beautiful, beautiful and outstanding pronunciation and command of the language,
She's really good, believe me.
right?
She speaks really good English, believe me. Actually, I did a role play with her the other day, and she was so good. Honestly,
Mhm.
I gave her a 10 out of 10 because it was great. Indeed, you were right. Yeah. We were right. I get nervous easily. I'm your student. I'm your fan. Well, you see, we were not wrong. Well, thank you for joining this live. I'm so excited to have our student here, guys. She's part of our call center course. We've been doing role plays, and actually, I gave you a hard time yesterday with a role play. I was so rude, not on purpose, but I did it because I want you to improve your English a little bit more. Mostly when it comes to confidence, because you already speak English and your English is great. You should just pointed it out. Emerson, hello, Emmanuel and Joshua. How have you been today? Well, I couldn't be great. I
Cool,
couldn't
bro.
be greater
Cool.
because I feel so happy to be here. Um, this guy from Senegal. We are at a stop due to traffic jams. Can we say that? Can we say that? No. Actually, to be at a stop is mostly when you park. If you
Mhm.
stop due to traffic jams, is mostly like, to stop. But let's suppose that you park and then that will be like being at a stop.
in
And
in 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 this case, although it because sorry indeed, I cannot pronounce your name correctly. Perhaps one day you can join us and we can actually know what is the correct pronunciation. But let me tell you that the word that you can use here is standstill.
standstill. To be at a standstill. Let me write it down. To be at a standstill. Yeah. All right. So uh, let me see. Hello again from Egypt and Bosnia. All right. Thank you. We have a new subscriber, I think. So let's move on with the topic. So Joshua, why do you think many people are unable to write a paragraph like this? For example, let's suppose that you hire somebody. We are working in, I don't know, in an automobile company, and we are supposed to send out emails like this. Let's suppose that we have to inform other companies about certain issues that the cars are facing. Let's suppose that we have third party companies who build certain car parts for us. So you have to instruct your employees and tell them, please send 100 emails to these companies and explain to them the issues that we are facing with the car parts that you guys are producing. We are really happy with your service. However, we are facing so many issues at this moment. For example, the engines are stalling out, the torque converters are not functioning properly, some engines are not running as they were supposed to, the transmissions are having issues, the fluid is not running through the manifold. So what do you think about this? Why are there so many people out there who are unable to
Of
do something
course.
like this?
Of course. Let me give you two versions. The funny one and the professional one. The funny one is that people, some of them like doing these half-ass jobs. Actually doing or using Google Translate for these tasks, which is totally inappropriate, Emmanuel. Why? Because Google Translate is an algorithm that uses standard vocabulary and standard grammar. Now, the professional answer for this lacking of vocabulary and grammar, which is something that really hits me. Why? Because I hear all the time, Joshua, but I'm studying a lot of grammar. Okay, okay. Yeah, because grammar is really important for me. Phrasal verbs, slangs, I don't like because I want to sound professional. Okay, okay. And, grammar is the best. Okay, okay. Show me your grammar. And they are not able to elaborate a single phrase without a single mistake. So, guys, grammar is not the verb to be, is not the auxiliary will, shall, have, would, or whatever you want to say. And this is due to lacking of vocabulary, guys. Even with the standard grammar, but with the proper repertoire, you will be able to write down a beautiful and professional phrase or paragraph like this one. What
Or
about you, Mano?
even an email. Once again,
Hmm.
I gave you that scenario. Let's suppose that I'm the supervisor and Joshua is my employee, and I tell you, Joshua, please send an email to Hypronary, I don't know, car parts, for example, and please tell Hypronary that at this moment, uh, 90 engines out of the 137 engines are not running properly, and also explain to them that the engines are stalling out. A customer called us in and told us that his car got bogged down and he got stranded. So can you please put together all that info and write an email to that company and explain to them what is going on?
Let me use Joshua's character. Remember the character from the first day in a call center? If I were Joshua from the first day in a call center, that character, the email would be something like, sir, yeah, actually, we have a lot of problems with our machines, with our engines, and they are stopping. They are no working properly, and my supervisor said me that we cannot send or we don't have enough inventory to supply.
Well, let's see the other version. What would you do in this case? Let's suppose that you are a professional and you have a wonderful repertoire of the language. What would be the
Mhm.
first thing that you did?
In this specific case, well, actually, well, providing a good opening, a beautiful greeting. Well, Mr. Hypronary, or uh, I really hope this email finds you well. First and foremost, I really hope you're doing wonderful. Um, I'm getting in touch with you, or I'm been trying to get a hold of you, or I'm sending you this information just to let you know that we are currently facing some issues regarding our inventory. We are lacking of engineers currently, but actually we are trying our best. We are doing, and we are going above and beyond in order to replenish our inventory and
Mhm.
supply as many items as you want.
And then you could add that we need to replace some of the engines that we have in stock because
Exactly.
those engines are not running, they stall out, so we need to replace them.
hmm
Uh,
Perhaps you can explain this verb replenish,
to replenish. Let me write it down for you guys.
because that's a useful verb.
To replenish is when you stock up on something. To stock up on something. So let's suppose that you have a big inventory of engines, and you are running out of engines. So you call the company and you tell them, "Hey, I need more engines because I'm out of engines." So when that company brings in more engines, so we are replenishing the inventory. That
hmm
means that we are adding more engines to the inventory. We are stocking up on more engines.
Let me give you another example, and this is something that people are not able to explain. But actually, when you are seeing these two security guards in front of a bank, and they are charging the ATM with money again, so you can actually use the verb replenish. They are replenishing the ATM with more money because the ATM are ran out of money. So they are
So
replenishing the ATM.
I wrote it down. The ATM was replenished. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me write it down again. Sorry, guys. I made a mistake. With cash, the ATM was. That's a wonderful example, Joshua.
hmm
With cash, the ATM was
Um,
replenished with cash.
mhm. Joshua, in a nutshell, we cannot speak well a language without vocabulary. That is
Well,
correct.
that's true. Actually, you're right. It's impossible, guys. For example, this paragraph. It's impossible to express all these if you don't have vocabulary. What are you supposed to say? How can you explain that to somebody else if the torque converter is failing, the engine is stalling out, the engine is not running properly, it is at a stop? I mean, if you don't have that vocabulary, you won't be able to express that coherently and clearly, right? And this simply shows we are actually um, expressing here what other people don't do. We are actually revealing the truth because teachers never teach you this vocabulary, and they are like, no, you'll do with this vocabulary. You'll learn this list of verbs, and that's it. You don't need that vocabulary because you will never use it, guys. Let's be honest. That's cap. And no kizzy, guys. You gotta learn all that vocabulary. What if you move to the United States and you get a job in a repair shop, and your boss is a mechanic, and he tells you, okay, Joshua, um, can you please fix this engine because it keeps stalling out, and I think the customer is not happy with it. I want you to fix it for me. So how can you understand that if you don't have vocabulary, and your boss is telling you, he is giving you some instructions what you need to do? And so if you don't understand that, I mean, you won't be able to do the job. That's the point.
That is correct.
Sometimes we are really close minded, and we think, no, no, I just know the most common verbs. I know how to say have, go, run, get, and I think that's enough. No, no, I don't have to learn that vocabulary because I will never need it in my life. But that's because you have never stepped out of your comfort zone. What if we ask you guys to, I don't know, let's say I invite some of you guys, and we start having a conversation about mechanics. Let's talk about some car parts. How many car parts can you mention? Like internal car parts. Can you mention some of them? Can you tell me some of the most common issues that your car faces when it fails? I think some of you are unable to give me that answer because, once again, the lack of vocabulary.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna give you an example, Joshua. For example, the other day I was on my way to visit my parents, and I had it was I don't know, it was a mishap maybe. I got a flat tire in the middle of the road, so I had to pull over, and so I was checking the tire, and I was like, oh man, this is so unfortunate. But anyway, I didn't care that much about it, so I decided to take out my toolkit, and I took out all the wrenches, and even the jack, and then I make sure to shift my car into the first gear. I lifted up the handbrake, and I decided to jack up my car. At some point, I noticed that I needed a support to prop it up, so I got a big stone. I mean, it was not that heavy, but it was a bit big, so I propped it up a little bit from the other side to avoid it, or to prevent it from falling down. So once it was fully jacked up, I decided to replace the tire. I took the spare tire off and put it back on, and then I put the flat tire where the spare tire goes, and so
Beautiful. I
I
like it.
was able to remove
I like it.
the jack and remove the stone, and then I continued um, my journey, and then I was like, man, I was able to fix it on
Bro,
my own. At some
bro
point I thought I would have to call a mechanic, but I was able to fix it and MacGyver it on my
you
own.
you my guy, bro. Cool, bro. That is cool. You were about to use these jump cables and stuff, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I was about to do that. But I mean, it was a crazy story. And guys, I'm sharing this with you because that's something that you may need at some point. That's some type of vocabulary that you may need. So how can you express all this story if you don't have that vocabulary? And I'm sure Joshua understood 100% of the story. Why? Because he also knows all that vocabulary. He knows all the expressions, the words, phrasal verbs, and even the idioms that I used. Even
For
even when I said MacGyver, that's an idiom.
let me give you an example as well, Emmanuel. Let's suppose that you have to place me on hold. I'm calling you at your company, and you at certain point tell me, okay, good customer, can I place you in a brief hold? I need to do something from my end. I'll be back in a jiffy. So, and at certain point, I tell you, bro, I don't like that music. So please do not place me on hold. Please,
Hmm.
please. It doesn't really matter if you have to remain silent or something like that. So in your company, for instance, Emmanuel, as you already know, you are not allowed to be muted or to remain silent, right?
Yeah,
That's something that we call dead air, and is
dead
not
air.
allowed in a
Hmm.
call center. So since you weren't allowed to place me on hold, I start, making conversation with you. A simple one. And I say something like, "Bro, um, today I got these, I got this man rolling in the aisles. I got this man rolling in the aisles. Why? Because I bought this shit wagon, and he did something funny, bro. And actually, he came up um from the left field with this joke, and we he was a hoot. He was a hoot, and we started cracking up. So, how many of you guys can tell me all the phrases that I used? He's a hoot. I got the bro, or I got the man or the homie rolling on the aisles. Or for instance, cheat wagon. What is a cheat wagon? Hmm? When this beautiful expression, si ustedes son de Costa Rica, if you are from Costa Rica, you already know that we have this beautiful expression, la sacó el estadio, la voló el estadio. Okay, that expression is when you actually do or say something totally unexpected out of the blue, and it turns out that is very stupid. So we say la sacó el estadio. So that is you come out of from the left field, right, Emmanuel?
Hmm.
There's another synonym, right, for that one.
To knock it out of the park.
To knock it out of the park. That
To
is
knock it out of the
correct.
park.
Can you type it, please? Says Jose.
Yeah, I'm gonna type it later on in the chat for you guys, and I will pin it for you guys. So unfortunately, I have to go now, Joshua and everybody, because I have some students, so I have to continue teaching. But it was a pleasure spending some time with you guys, and see you around. Maybe we could go live tomorrow, Joshua, if you want, or maybe on Monday.
Of course. Of course.
So thank you for your time. I know that it's always very interesting to spend time with you, and it's always a really fruitful class as well as a fruitful conversation. Um, Abmado, first time hearing those expressions, Joshua. Yeah, that's the reason why. Because you are used to hearing the same things over and over. But once you are forced to step out of your comfort zone, you are like, oh, I'm feeling confronted because you don't have enough vocabulary to be able to understand these conversations. So we'll be making a second part of this video because this topic is really, really fascinating, and we're gonna be bringing more vocabulary and also more stories like these. We're going to be discussing about unknown vocabulary, about certain stories, in order to share vocabulary with you guys. And we're gonna give you a hard time. We're gonna quiz you guys because I know that some of you will not understand some of our conversations. But we're going to do that on purpose in order to teach you vocabulary. So, once again, guys, thank you so much for joining, and see you around. Have a great day.
See you around.